Now, this story is crazy. So, this girl goes by the name Miriam. She's an SS3 student from Nigeria and she lives with her family in Abeokuta State. But you see, Miriam's family happened to be a poor one. They were unable to feed properly, not to talk of having a 3 square meal. And to make things worse, Miriam couldn't even afford to pay for some of the necessary items she required as an SS3 student due to the financial situation of her family. Now, because of all this, Miriam made up her mind to leave Abeokuta in search of greener pastures. So one day, she packed her bags and ran away from the house without the knowledge of anyone. Using the little money she had on her, she was able to get buses that were heading to Lagos from Abeokuta, and this was how Miriam arrived in Lagos. After Miriam's arrival in Lagos, she began searching for jobs. She searched for a little while, but she couldn't find any until she met this guy called Sodiq. Now, unlike Miriam, who just arrived in Lagos, Sodiq had been living in Lagos for most of his life. So when he saw Miriam, he approached her and inquired about what the problem was because, she was looking a bit tired due to all the search she has been doing. And that was when Miriam explained her predicament to him, how she fled Abeokuta and has been searching for a job but hasn't seen any yet, and she doesn't even have a place to sleep. After explaining all this, Sodiq then told her that she should worry no more, that he had a job for her, and even better, this job pays well and comes with accommodation, and that he would explain the details of the job once they get to his place. Now, Miriam, on hearing this, was happy. At least from this job, she would be able to feed properly and have a roof over her head. But unknown to her, this job would change her life forever. So this was how Sodiq took Miriam to his house, and then he began explaining what the job was about. First of all, he revealed to Miriam that he was a cult gang leader and that the job he had for Miriam was an assassin job. He wanted her to join his cult and carry out operations for him. He further told her that if she accepted the offer, she would be able to make a lot of money for herself. Miriam, on hearing all this, accepted Sodiq's offer. According to the story, what followed next after the acceptance was her initiation into the cult. She was taken to a voodoo herbalist where she took some oaths and got initiated officially into the cult. Then she was taught how to use a pow by Sodiq, and so this was how Miriam became one of Sodiq's cult members at the age of 20. And then he began sending her on operations. Whenever there is an enemy from a rival cult gang, he would send Miriam to go take out the enemy. Whenever she's going for the operation, she would wear a white jalabia and hijab, conceal the pow inside the jalabia, and then she, alongside 2 other guys who were also members of the cult, would break into the house of the enemy. Once they gain entrance, she would then locate the particular room of the enemy and then unalive him with the pow. Mind you, she was doing all this at the age of 20. When she was done taking out the enemy, she, alongside the 2 other guys, would then return back to Sodiq, and then he would pay her 10,000 naira and the other guys 20,000 naira each. So this was how Miriam was carrying out operations for Sodiq. Together with her squad, they took out 4 different individuals. She also began dating one of her fellow cult members, and everything seemed to be going well for her until one day. Now, on that day, there was a big fight between Miriam's cult and their rival cult group, and the cause of the fight was that the rival cult group unalived Sadiq's brother, and Sadiq is the leader of his cult. So this led to a big fight. The 2 cults clashed together and they were fighting and unaliving themselves. Now, while they were doing all this, the police were notified, and then they arrived on the scene, and as soon as they arrived, they began arresting members of the cult that were fighting, and this was how they arrested Sadiq and a few other cult members of his. But you see, luckily for Miriam, she wasn't arrested, and the reason was because as at the time of the fight between the 2 cult groups, Miriam wasn't present then because she went on an errand, and so she didn't partake in the fight. But as soon as she returned from the errand, she heard what happened and how they arrested Sodiq, and then she foolishly thought it was a good idea to go check on Sodiq in the station. So she went to the station, and as soon as she got there, the police arrested her as well, and after interrogating her, that was when they discovered that she was also a member of the cult. This is a video of Miriam when she was interrogated by the media houses after her arrest. Now, unfortunately, there was no update on whether Miriam was sentenced to jail for her crimes or maybe she was released. So this is where the story ends. Follow me for more crazy stories. I'm Caleb and I've uncovered this case.